Good afternoon. My name is Natalie. I'm here to talk to you about sleep paralysis. Has anyone ever experienced it? Do you guys know what it is? So I'm going to talk about it today because it affects millions every year, and they estimated that half the population will experience at least one episode in their lifetime. So I'm going to talk to you to let you know what it is, the history of it, and the treatments for it. So sleep paralysis can be described as when a person is sleeping, and there's two different ways it can happen. It can either happen when you're going to sleep, like in the transition of falling asleep is still kind of awake, or when you're waking up from your sleep but you're still kind of in that state. Basically, when a person experiences it, you're starting to gain consciousness, but it's not completely there. So some people, they experience seeing people in their room or bugs. It's usually something terrifying, and they can't move. They feel like they can't move. You can't move your mouth. Some people feel as though they're choking, and it causes a state of panic because you realize that you can't move and you can't breathe, and that causes fear. And if you think that's shocking, next I'm going to talk about the history of it. It actually dates back to the Egyptian times. Back then, they believed it was caused by supernatural reasons. For example, there was a mischievous spirit named Jinn, and he would go around and mess with people while they're asleep, and they believe that's what caused it. In the Caribbean, there was a myth of Kokoma. These were the souls of unbaptized babies or children that had died that would go around and mess with people in their sleep. The Turkish called it Karabasid. They believed people that were mentally tormented by what we know as mental disorders. But back then they thought they were crazy, so they thought it was just people getting tormented by demons. And during the episode, they would say that a wicked supernatural entity wearing a wide-brimmed hat enters the room and they'll strangle the victim with their hands. As you can see, many different cultures believe there's some supernatural being behind the sleep paralysis, but modern medicine knows that's not it. Next is the treatments. So during these times back then, they didn't have modern medicine. They would treat sleep paralysis by doing exorcisms, prayers, or they would poke the victims with a pin or a needle. Some people would move them and position their bodies a different way to help them. That didn't really work though. But now, currently, there is no official treatment for it. Now, some people that experience mental disorders or narcolepsy, they take antidepressants for it, but that's only to help them not have dream sleep, which is not have any dreams while they're asleep. But regular individuals, there's no treatment for it. Doctors just recommend that you try to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. They also recommend that you try to take naps during the day if you have a long workload. Make sure you keep a sleep diary and write down and record how often you experience sleep paralysis and what happens during the sleep paralysis and how long it lasts. And after that, if it continues to go on after a certain amount of time, you can go to a doctor. They'll have you do, not an MRI, but I forget the technical term for it. But you'll go to a sleep clinic, and they'll have you go to sleep. They'll put the sensors on you and record your brain activity, and they'll change the temperature of the room or even the lights, how low the lights are, to see if there's things that trigger it. But there's still no official treatments for it. So they can only recommend that you get a certain amount of sleep and different things to change, such as your diet or your workload, to help with it. As you can see, sleep paralysis is scary, but now that you know what it is and the factors behind it, if or when you experience it, you'll know what to do. So today I told you what sleep paralysis is, the history of it, and the treatments for it. Now remember to get at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep, and if you can't get that amount, make sure you take a nap. And that's a hint at my next week.
Okay.